These are the top 5 most common eBay scams that I see here as a Canadian eBay seller and how you can avoid them. I'm the Common Lad, and on this channel we do everything from selling things on eBay, side hustles, investing, Shopify, and much more. If it sounds like stuff that might interest you, please consider subscribing. And with that out of the way, let's jump into the top 5 most common eBay scams that I experience here in Canada. Now I should put out there really quickly, these are the things that I've dealt with and you guys might have a slightly different experience. I do sell a lot of cheaper items, I sell a lot of video games in a higher quantity, so maybe I deal with certain scams more than you might see them. I also deal with less high-end items, so for that reason I don't see some of the more sophisticated scams out there, but I do have a good list here, and hopefully you guys can take something away from this video to prevent these from happening to you in the future. Alright, so let's jump right into the first one here, and this one is perfect because it's one that every single person out there as an eBay seller is going to deal with at some point selling on eBay. And this is when a buyer sends you a message and says that they didn't receive their item. Also known as an item not received scan or an INR case. One thing that we should point out here off the bat though is that not all the messages that you're going to get about this are going to be scams. See, this scam occurs when a buyer claims they didn't receive an item that you sent to them. Now, although a lot of times this can be true, I would say for me, more times than not, I tend to think that it was actually a scam. Now, this one's quite tricky because there's really no way to tell if you're being scammed or not. That is, if you're shipping without tracking. So for everybody doing things like shipping with Canada Post Lettermail and trying to get away with doing some cheaper tracking options, let's say to the United States with non-tracked packets, you're going to run into this problem more frequently than people who do ship with tracking. Now, that doesn't mean that you still can't prevent this scam from happening. You see, as somebody who uses Lettermail all the time, I've managed to get this scam down to below 1% of the total sales that I do, which is pretty awesome. Again, not all of them are scams. Some people actually don't get the items, and I completely understand. The number one way that you can often figure this out, though, is by the feedback rating of the buyer. So that's the first tip. If you're sending something via Lettermail, and maybe it's a couple things, maybe, you know, something a little bit more valuable, you definitely want to be checking on the feedback of that buyer before they purchase and before you send out the item, and then also after they open the item not received case to see if that's something that you could bring up with eBay to possibly not have to give your money back. The second thing that I would look for, and is actually present in all of the examples that we're going to give here today, which is the grammar that's being used in the message that you're getting. If it's all over the place, doesn't make any sense, and for whatever reason is just not quite adding up, that's definitely something that, again, you could bring up with eBay if you call them about this scam, and they might be able to help you with, because again, oftentimes some of these scammers aren't based out of, you know, Canada or the US. Maybe they're from an international spot. You know, they're trying to get you with an international INR case, whatever it might be. Obviously, there's some local ones as well, but oftentimes that bad grammar, kind of rushed typos, will often, you know, show that there might be an INR case here. eBay can also check for you, I believe, if you call them, they can see how many item not received cases this buyer has opened up, and they might be able to help you in that sense. Okay, but here's the most important thing that you have to remember about this scam, and this one is something that I still can't believe that people mess up. I used to mess it up when I started, but this is critical. If you are sending higher value items out there, let's say that you sold a game for $50 that could very well fit in the Lettermail, doesn't always mean that you should send it via Lettermail. Pay for tracking. That's it. This is the number one way to avoid this scam. Pay for tracking on items that need tracking. Items that, you know, go for more than $20, $30 should be tracked when they're sent out. You can pass that cost along to the buyer, but again, you don't want to be sending these items out without tracking, because that's exactly when you're going to run into these item not received scams. You're going to be out like 50, 60 bucks, even $100 in some cases is ridiculous. Never send anything of that value without tracking, but you're going to be out the money and it's going to suck. So you know what? Pay the $10, $12 to send something tracked in Canada, and don't do it via Lettermail for $3, $4, whatever the amount that you're paying is. You know, take that $6 different. Yeah, it's going to be a loss here, but I think overall it's going to add up when you don't have to refund some of those $100 purchases. All right, so that's an important one that you're definitely going to see if you're selling things on eBay, and one that I deal with all the time. The second one here, though, is also extremely important, and this one really applies if you accept returns. This is the return shipping scam, and the way this one works is that when you send out a buyer something and they receive it, they then complain for whatever reason that they would like to return it. Upon returning it, though, when it arrives back at your house or business, you open it up and you realize that maybe it's a rock that they sent you, or an empty box, or it's not necessarily the item that you sent to them. Now, this scam has been going around forever on eBay, and it's quite an unfortunate one, and there's not really much that sellers can do about it. Oftentimes, eBay will take the side of the buyers here, unfortunately, for some reason, especially when these buyers have, you know, low feedback, and you're a seller that's maybe been on there for a couple of years. I'm not sure why they do that. It's kind of ridiculous, but I definitely have heard of eBay taking the side of buyers on these ones. There's one really important thing that you can remember here when dealing with any sort of return on eBay, which is as simple as this. Pull out your phone when you get the item back in the mail and record yourself opening the box for the first time. This should cover you potentially. Again, it's not going to cover you in every case, but if you can say to an eBay person, I have proof here of me opening the box when it first arrived, of there being no item in it or whatever it is, you can oftentimes be able to push the case or even win the case that way. It's a small thing. It takes you, you know, a couple seconds, get a little tripod, or just hold your phone while you open it up and figure out what's in that box, but that's going to make it so at least you have some proof that the buyer actually didn't send you anything. Okay, Okay, so another important one to remember there, and again, it's something that sucks. It's really unfortunate. Luckily, not too many buyers do it, and luckily, if they do it a couple times, eBay tends to catch on and they don't get away with it for very long, which is great. Okay, number 3 here, guys, is the third tip, and this one is definitely for all the beginners out there. This scam goes around way too often for those beginner eBay sellers, and it tends to actually target people with low feedback on eBay. So if you're a new eBay seller out there and you don't have much feedback built up, be aware for this message and for this scam, because this can definitely catch you a little off guard and will definitely throw you off and potentially lose you a ton of money here if you fall for it. This one's plain and simple, guys. You sold an item on eBay, but the buyer is not yet paid for it. Now, usually how this works is the buyer will reach out somehow, whether it be through eBay messages, and try to convince you that they've already paid, or that it's your job to ship it to them before they pay. There's a bunch of ways this could go down. There was some made-up PayPal transactions, I think, that would happen in the past, or they would pay outside of eBay so they can get the money back afterwards, or they would even send you a message confirming the payment when there was no payment actually sent. There's a whole bunch of ways that these buyers and scammers would actually get away with this, make you, send the item out to them, and then they would never actually pay you for the item. Luckily, guys, this one is plain and simple, easy to fix right off the bat, and this one is something that everybody should pay attention to and never fall for. You only ever ship an item out on eBay when eBay tells you to ship the item out. eBay will tell you every single time. They will mark it as, pending shipment. They're literally gonna say on your seller dashboard, on your phone, it's time to ship this item out, and that's when you ship the item out. You should also be able to, go into your transactions, your payouts. If you're still on PayPal, you can go into your PayPal history and actually make sure that transaction went through if you're a first-time seller here, although I know they do have the holds on the first-time seller, but if you can at least see it pending there, that's a good sign. Never ship an item out, though, if it just says paid, if it just says offer pending, if it just says anything besides ship this item out. Do not ship the order out. Okay, nice and simple one there, guys. Again, one that nobody should be falling for on this platform, and again, never ship out unless it tells you to. And if you have a genuine concern, like maybe there's a payment problem, or you feel like you should ship it out to this buyer when it doesn't say so on eBay, give eBay a call. They have a number. They can call you, actually. You just put your number in. They call you really quick. It's awesome. Talk to a representative there. They'll figure it all out for you, but do not send an item out without getting the payment. Okay, number 4 here, another one that is maybe less frequent, but definitely does happen, and again, I think starts to sort of happen to those less experienced sellers, but also if you have the feedback, you can deal with this one as well. This one's ridiculous, and unfortunately, there's not much, again, we can do here as sellers on eBay to stop this. This one's known as the empty box claim, though, and not unlike the return claim that we talked about, number 2 in this video, where they send you back an empty box. This is the buyer complaining, though, that you sent them an empty box. Again, a little bit more of an unusual one, but it does happen. I believe it's happened to me at least once or twice now, and it's, again, when a buyer will claim that you sent them an empty box. Now, again, a way that you can get around this is maybe taking pictures of every single box that you're packing, and showing the item inside it all packed up, going to the buyer every single time that you send something out. I've actually witnessed people at the post office taking pictures of the receipt or taking pictures of the packages at the post office as proof that they've actually shipped these items out. And although in a box it's a little bit hard to tell if the item's in it or not as a seller, even with photos, you should know that most of the time you should be able to win this case with eBay. Now, I should warn you, if you have no feedback selling on eBay, it's one of your first ones, and you deal with this scam, you are going to be in trouble, because eBay will have a harder time believing you. But that's when you got to get on the phone and you got to talk to a representative at eBay. This is the kind of time when you can maybe bring on your talking magic, whatever it is, convince them that you did actually send the item out. And of course, if you have those photos or video evidence that you packed it, be sure to, offer them that or provide it if they ask for it, and that's a great way to win this case. Overall, though, again, something that newer sellers deal with, these scammers are targeting, sellers with less feedback because they know that they're more susceptible to these things, and then they're going to be able to get away with it easier as well because eBay doesn't know who to trust in that case. Keep an eye out for it. You're the seller. You know what you sent. Of course, we mess up sending the wrong items out sometimes or whatever, and we're willing to fix it as sellers, but occasionally when somebody complains that you sent them nothing and you know that you did, that's a problem. Okay, guys, number 5 here. This one is, again, a really common one that every single person out there selling on eBay is going to deal with. And this is one that I've seen buyers take advantage of before you even sell your item on eBay. There are programs set up, I believe, that even search through eBay for this exact thing, and then they go ahead and make an order with your store, and then you had to deal with this scam. This scam is called the item not as described scam. Now listen, not unlike the first one here when it's the item not received scam, some of these will be genuine people, people would give feedback on eBay who complain about an item not being described correctly. It happens all the time. As a more experienced seller, I kind of know what to put in my descriptions now and what to take photos of and what to describe as being wrong to kind of avoid less and less of these. However, new sellers will mess up. You miss a stain on a shirt or whatever, and you get that item not described case. Maybe you miss, a measurement or whatever, and you get that item not described case. Now, okay, that's fine. That happens with normal people out there. You sort it out with them. Maybe you give them half their money back, or you make some sort of deal. Often these people will have some good feedback. They've been longtime members, and it's just something that you have to work out with it's unfortunate, but as a new seller or even an experienced seller, maybe you missed something. But the scam is much different. It goes something like this. A buyer purposely buys an item because they either see a flaw in your listing, maybe that's the description, the name, the model number, anything that they can find to potentially win them a case with eBay. Or they're gonna wait for the item to arrive for them and inspect the item so heavily that they can find any flaw on that item to make sure that they get some, if not all, of their money back. So one of those two things is gonna happen. And this is what I'm saying with the bots even. You know, bots can come in and search things, maybe use the wrong term for one of your items or the wrong model number, or you've typed in, you know, the name Calvin Klein wrong in one of your clothing listings. So these are all things that these bots and programs will look for, then proceed to purchase the items, then go ahead and actually have those items shipped to them, and then they go and open up that item not described case to see if they can get their money back. Now the bot thing is something that I've just heard about briefly. It might not be super prevalent within the platform, but definitely the straight up scams where the buyer comes on, they buy something, and they intentionally look for any reason to get their money back is definitely a frequent one and something that you're going to deal with all the time. So how do you prevent this? First of all, make sure to take detailed pictures of all of your items so you can avoid having those genuine people who actually are not happy with the item they received from even having that item in the first place, because that's not a good thing to deal with. That's not good for business. It's not good for your customers. So you want to avoid them having to deal with that whatsoever. But having some good pictures that shows every sort of deficiency or indiscrepancy within the listing or the item is a good thing to have. Also, there's a little preview button at the bottom of your listing. When you're listing items, especially when they're up in that 20, 30, anything upwards of that dollar range, you hit that preview window, you can take a quick look at your listing, read over everything, make sure that it all makes sense, the grammar flows, the model number is correct, all of those things, so you avoid ever having somebody being able to say, well, you told me it was this model, or you told me it was this color, or you told me it was whatever. For clothing, another important one is just to put the dimensions in there. Shoes, put the actual dimensions in there. That way, I dealt with a shoe case the other day where somebody said that the shoes were not as described. They wanted a refund, but I'd put the shoe dimensions in there when I called eBay. It was all good because I had told them exactly what measurements your feet, should have been before buying that shoe. They bought it and they were in the wrong there. Ultimately though, guys, this is one of those cases where you just have to call eBay and fight it. Oftentimes it's that buyer trying to find, the smallest thing, the smallest little mark on the shirt, the smallest little scratch on the VHS player, whatever it is that you sold. They're trying to identify anything that can get them the smallest bit of money back. You gotta call eBay and say, listen, I got these pictures of it, I gave a very detailed description, and I was fairly confident that the listing reflected everything that the item had. You could also, use the used term that they put in the eBay listing. If you select that the item is used, it will say that the item is expected to have some light wear and tear on it, or something along those lines, in the actual eBay listing when you select that. That's eBay's thing that they set up there, and you can use that to win the case as well. You can say, well, look at this. You guys say specifically used items, and here's your description of a used item. And you can use that against the person trying to scam you here when they're trying to point out the smallest defects in an item to get their money back. And with that, guys, we're gonna wrap it up there. Hopefully you guys found some value in this video, but the conversation definitely does not stop here. You guys are always great in the comments of these videos with providing some intel and some of your own experiences with dealing with all sorts of eBay stuff, but specifically today I want to talk about scams. And if you guys have had any experience with any of these scams or any other popular scams that you know of, be sure to leave them down below. Also, if you have any ideas for preventing these kind of scams, things that I missed, because I definitely missed some of them for sure, be sure to leave those down below as well here. Let's try to help each other out. Let's try to help each other avoid these sort of situations in the future. And I think by creating a comment section that's full of different people, shouting out some ideas there in terms of how to avoid these things and talking about their own experience, maybe we can all learn something from it and be able to benefit from it in the future. With that said, guys, I am going to end today's video here. If you guys found some value in it or enjoyed it, be sure to go down below and leave a like on the video. That helps out with the YouTube algorithm extremely, and of course it helps get this video pushed to more and more people so they can also see it and learn from it. Leave those comments down below, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and I will see you guys all in the next video.